What's up everybody, this is Master EN Gamer. Amidst all the hype and excitement for Echo finally going to live servers, there were just a few little newsworthy tidbits of information which I wanted to wrap up into one quick news video for you all, including some very intriguing forum posts from Overwatch developer Jeff Kaplan, and a brand new Echo micro event. So without further ado, let's jump right on in. First up, the forum posts. Now, the evening following Echo going to live servers, Jeff Kaplan was once again busy on the Overwatch forums answering a few different people's questions, and while the majority of these were fairly simple and pertaining to Echo, there were just a couple intriguing remarks he made which I wanted to address real quickly. First was in response to a question asking whether there'd ever be any experimental card reworks for Bastion, and Jeff's response was the next experimental card changes are targeted at CC reduction across multiple heroes. Additionally, we're not currently working on any Bastion changes, but are happy to listen to any feedback you have. Now, this is rather interesting because, as many of you likely know, crowd control, or CC, has been a pretty hot topic in the Overwatch community for basically forever. And in general, it just seems like people don't like being stunned, slept, frozen, and all the other things CC brings to the table. And Jeff Kaplan has talked about this in the past and talked about how the devs were looking at ways to potentially tone back the amount of crowd control in Overwatch, or at the very least find a way to make it less annoying. And it sounds like we're finally going to have an upcoming experimental card which focuses on testing different changes when it comes to crowd control. Now, another thing to note is that so far, with the main exception being the 132 triple damage experimental card we had, all the changes which have gone through the experimental card have actually ended up going through to the rest of the game. Typically, if the devs are going to commit to experimenting with something to the degree where they actually implement it into the live version of the game, even if it is only on the experimental card, it means they're pretty committed to the idea of going through with it. So I would not be surprised in the slightest to see whatever sort of changes these end up being actually going through to the rest of the game. But of course, we haven't seen them just yet. The experimental card hasn't updated, but I do expect that to happen in the very near future, since typically when Jeff talks about things on the forums like this, it means they're very imminent to come to the game. So I would just be keeping an eye on that, because it looks like crowd control nerfs are going to be coming pretty soon. The other point he talks about, how they don't have any Bastion changes in the works, I think is kind of funny in a sad way. Of course, Bastion is notorious for being the worst hero in the game. However, Blizzard just doesn't seem to really consider him that and think he works just fine. Obviously, he's not viable at higher skill tiers, but I think for people in medium to low, he's probably just fine, and I'm assuming that's what Blizzard is looking at when they're thinking, yeah, Bastion doesn't really need to be changed at all. So if you're hoping for any Bastion reworks, sounds like they're not going to be happening still. Now, the other main thing Jeff talked about on the forums, which I wanted to mention, was in response to a request for a retreat voice line, much like you have group up and attack the objective voice lines, along with a few other communication ones. And Jeff's response to this, once again, was rather intriguing. We're working on a cool update that will address this feedback. More info in the next dev update. Sorry, no ETA because world. So I think we all know what Jeff's talking about there when he says world. Probably something along the lines of the global pandemic we're all enduring at the moment. But looking on the bright side of Jeff's comment, there is apparently a dev update coming sometime soon, hopefully. We'll see how that actually ends up playing out, I suppose. But the topic of the dev update, or at least one of the topics, is going to seemingly have to do with an update to how in-game communication works. So possibly more just sort of voice line buttons you can use to communicate with your team without having to type into the chat or use your voice in voice chat. I think this would probably be a pretty cool feature to implement as long as they don't make it so convoluted that it just becomes sort of cumbersome to use. But again, this is something that a lot of people have been asking for a long time, so I'm excited to see what this ends up being. It seems like over the past few months, and likely for the months going forward, Blizzard is going to be focusing quite a bit on these sort of quality of life sort of updates, I guess you could just call them, changes, little fixes like this, just things that make the game slightly better, since of course they're holding off a lot of that major content like maps, heroes, and game modes for the sequel, Overwatch 2. So whatever sort of cool communication update this ends up being, I'm very excited to see what they end up putting through, and I'd love to hear your ideas for how to improve it in the comments down below. And the last topic I real quick wanted to talk about today is the Echo Twitch Drop micro event, I guess you could call it. Unlike other mini events or hero challenges we've seen in the past, there's no rewards you can unlock in-game through just playing and getting wins like we typically see, and there's no skins tied to this mini event, hence why I'm kind of calling it a micro event, because it's like even smaller than a mini event. I'm sure many of you saw this already, but I just wanted to sort of point it out in case you missed it. Between now and April 20th, so you only have a week to actually get these, you can unlock 6 different cute little sprays for Echo by watching Twitch streamers on Twitch. As long as they're playing Overwatch, you can unlock these by watching 2 hours, 4 hours, and then 6 hours to get all 6 of them. I do have to say that overall these sprays look pretty nice, especially that Genji one. Love the meme reference on that. So since you only have a week to unlock these, make sure you don't delay, because you'll probably never be able to get them again in the future, because that's typically how Blizzard handles these limited time stream rewards like this. So that does it for today's quick news update video. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on any of the topics I covered today in the comments down below. And as always, be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video and share it with your friends if you really liked it. Subscribe, smash that bell, follow me on Twitter at MasterENGamer, and check out my Discord server to never miss any future Overwatch news and content. If you'd like to support my channel, then you can hit that join button down below to get some cool rewards like the people you see here on screen. Otherwise, this is MasterENGamer signing off, and until next time, have a great day.